Okay, guys, I think we have people coming in. Thanks everyone for tuning in. While we wait, I will just take a moment to talk about the session and what we're going to be doing today. It's interesting that like I wasn't expecting a turnout actually for a lot of turnout for this sort of an event because I kind of felt that quiz is going to be like okay, people had this question that okay, I don't know anything about mythology. Would this be I don't know if I should be coming in, and I think the fact that people were interested but they were still worried about this aspect was something that I was I found it very interesting, and I thought I spent a lot of time assuring people that look, just come. If you know something, definitely it's a good it's a good idea. uh, you know and you get to learn something. Look, I mean, none of us know everything in mythology. Honestly speaking, it's the same thing as history or general life, right? I mean, we all know a bit of things. The advantage we kind of have in mythology is that there's so many variations that we are all technically correct somehow. But having said that, there are a few things, there are food trivia facts and all that are definitely interesting. And if you know something great, you will, I mean, in a spirit of healthy competition, you'll get some points and you'll progress. And if you don't, there's always a luck chance because the game is structured in such a way that allows for both kind of, audience. I think we're waiting for a couple of more people. Till that time, I'll start sharing my screen. Just give me 1 second. Also, hello to new faces. I'm seeing some people who have not actually come for this, for any of the sessions coming new time. So it's really nice to see new faces. Um, just 1 second. Anaga, are you able to, admit people?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Because I'm getting the notification again and again. You guys are not seeing the notification on top, right? Are you able to see the full screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So, okay, so we have a bit of a time crunch in the amount of things we wanted to cover and all. So we get started, and when people join in, they can, they can participate. It's kind of their bad luck if they miss out a few points in the initial rounds. But still, so this session, I mean, the idea came from obviously, I think everyone knows the title itself came from sort of a pun. But I think it was also with the fact that we talk a lot about mythology stories and all, but we don't spend enough time looking at certain aspects and certain, especially the beasts and the creatures and all that are there that, they're a big integral part of the stories itself. And whichever mythology, Indian, Greek, any of them we see, each of them have their own specialty. Like, each of them have their own uniqueness in terms of what the creatures added. The best part is some of the creatures and the beasts have become common terminologies in our daily languages. And you will notice it when we go forward with this. But the first things first, I just want to start off with was, do you guys know the difference between beast and a creature? You can open your mic right now to speak. We'll start the quiz in some time, but yeah. Anyone just has any idea about the beast and creature?
Is the question what is the difference between a beast and a creature?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the answer.
Anuruddh, you're not allowed actually because this thing. But anyway, let someone else try before this thing. Anyone else knows the thing? It's a simple difference, but it's just a fascinating difference that is there.
I can guess. I'd say,
go ahead.
I mean, maybe the term, I don't know, the term creature seems a little bit more, how do I say this? It's a bit more wild. I don't know, like, and kind of be, well, actually, put it one way or the other. I think beast perhaps sounds a little bit more wild, a little bit more undefined. Creature sounds more generic in the sense that it doesn't necessarily need to be like, I don't know.
Interesting.
It could be Like it could be somewhat, it could be something that's like well defined, well known, as well as something that's like, you know, mythical in nature. I don't know. I'm just taking a guess.
That's interesting. Anyone else? Anyone else wants to venture a
Can I
guess?
try?
Hmm?
Can I try?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think Beast would be more of like unknown to humanity.
Hmm.
We can say it would be a sort of mythological, but I think Beast would be more like animals or someone
Hmm.
we have researched on. But creatures, because we have no clue about or it's unexplored. So
Hmm.
creatures would be something which would be mythological.
That's interesting. Yeah, so I think both of you guys have a very interesting point, and I think yeah, both of you correct in some ways. But from a terminology point of view, beast is any creature, sorry, any sort of a being that is not human. Okay, any living thing. That's what generally means. And a creature is generally a composition of different species created. Something that is created. The word creature actually has the word create in it. So that's actually the big difference. To be honest, I also found that out when I was preparing for this session. I know the title is Mythical Beasts and Where to Find Them, but we're going to be a little loose with the definition, and we're going to have a bit of both. Having said that, do look out for the clues, because when I'm actually speaking about it, I may use the word beast and creature either to give a hint or either to throw you off, because why not? So just keep that in mind when we go forward and all. Okay, all in good spirit. Uh, yeah, before we begin, I just thought, anyone who's been looking at the promo thing we had done, there was these mythical cows and all we had done. So I thought I had told them that, okay, come to the session and we'll reveal it to them. And yeah, just so before I give you answers again, I had kind of put these three images of the cows, and I had said that, do you know the names of these mythical cows? Okay. Anyone, by the way, just wants to guess and all, like just quickly, a
Can I
minute.
guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
The first one I think is Kamdhenu, and the cub is Nandi.
Okay,
Nandini.
the first one. Okay, what about the second one, third one?
Is the second one Hathor?
Which one?
The second one, is it Hathor? Like
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
is something from Egyptian mythology?
Yeah.
The cow
I
of
think there's
Ra,
enough clues
right?
that there's from Egyptian mythology, especially sort of a thing. What about the last one, guys? Come on, there's enough clues on the things to tell you where it is from. Even if you can guess the mythology, that's good enough, right? I mean, uh,
Is it Norse mythology by any chance?
okay, interesting. I think, yeah, you guys have got it. Just to reveal it, yeah, you're right. It's the first one is Kamdhenu, the mother of all cows, and the second one is Hesat, who turns into Hathor. So in a way, you're right. I mean, honestly, I was going to call it Hesat, the goddess. She's a deity who sometimes transforms into a cow, Hathor. So and Egyptians are known for having gods like completely transform and get merged into one god sort of a thing. Much like Indian mythology, but sometimes a bit more crazier. And the last one is Adhumla. That's basically the primordial cow that kind of was the first creature who there was all ice, and they just started licking a thing, and then from the ice came this giant who used to drink its milk and all, and then the whole Norse mythology starts. Now I won't go into everyone's story because I don't think there's enough time, but maybe at the end of the session, if you have any questions and all, we can do it. And feel free to research and find out if you are interested. But anyway, that was the mythical cows that I wanted to do. It's very interesting. A lot of people got the first one. Some people got only the third one and not the first one. So it's also interesting that how people think about it. Yeah. Oh, guys, just one thing I have to alert. Gurgaon is facing a lot of power cuts, so there's a good chance that the power will go for me. It'll come back in like 2 minutes, but that could mean that my screen will be frozen and for 30 seconds. Feel free to discuss and question the anything, and I'll just join back quickly. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to begin the rules of the quiz. But before I begin the quiz, I want to make this thing. Right now, we're going to be doing a proper quiz, and we have Anaga. She is also, a volunteer in Cobalt Blue, and she's herself a mythologist. She's going to be doing a session on her own about Natya Shastra soon. So do check that out, guys. And she's going to be the official scorekeeper of this event. So in case you guys are not getting enough points, you know who to blame. Okay, but yeah, so that's the thing, guys. And so in terms of the rules, okay, there's a very simple rule. Okay, right now, because there are enough people and all, what we're going to do is I would request everyone to be on mute. And the way we are going to play the game is that each screen does right now, I think I see 15 participants right now, which is quite a good number, this thing. And each of you guys are a team of your own. Now, whether you have two people or one person, that's fine. It's you guys decide that, okay? You'll just have to decide who's the one who's going to be typing, okay? So in Zoom, you have the whole chat window, right? And in the chat window, now whoever types in first gets the point. Okay.
And yes, really sorry to interrupt you. I think your was sort of cracked there, and we couldn't hear you. Which
Sure. Yeah. So I was just saying that in the rules, each of the screen is a point by is a team by itself, and the way to answer the question, unless told otherwise, is by putting it on chat. Okay. Remember to put the right answers, whether it's a number, it's an alphabet, or it's a text, whatever it is. The person who types in first is going to get the point, okay? That's how we're going to go about it. And by the way, obviously, there are going to be questions which have multiple choices and all. And if everyone answers, whoever answers it right, they all get the point, okay? And at the end of the, at the end of an activity, we are going to just tally up. Anaga is just going to put up the points that everyone has. And yeah, we'll see how we're going to go ahead, okay? The other thing is the whole quiz has been divided into two types or two formats. One is there are 5 activities, okay? Activities in the sense that the rules of the activities are slightly different in terms of the engagement and all. And each of the activities has a certain number of rounds, 2 or 3, depending on where we have it, okay? After every round, we're going to just that's where you're going to get a point, and rounds are basically timed, okay? There's going to be a timer that's going to move this thing, a progress bar that is going to move, okay? I just made a quick animation that does it. So use that as a basis to answer. As soon as we finish the timer, we're not going to accept the other answers and all. At least maybe if no one has answered it right, we can allow that. I think Kanaga, we can be a little more lenient out there, right? So that's the simple rule, guys, okay? There's going to be one event where I would expect you guys to type. Whoever types in first, we're going to act that as a buzzer. There's going to be a phrase word that you have to speak, and if you put the phrase word, the first one to put the phrase word, then you kind of get to unmute your mic and give the answers. If you're wrong, we go ahead with someone else, okay? So if that's clear, guys, we'll do that. I hope are you guys having any questions and all before we move ahead to anything? No, there are no negative marks. I mean, that would be really cruel. And I mean, come on, mythology allows for inclusiveness, okay? It allows for new answers and all. It doesn't allow for negation. So let's not be, sort of a thing. But that's a good idea you've given us for the next time we do a quiz. So yeah, I'll just move ahead. So the first activity, guys, okay? The first activity is whose Vahan is it? Okay. Now, for obviously, I think most of us, Indians, we know the word Vahan. Vahans are basically they're basically the creatures or the beasts that are sort of like the vehicle for a lot of deities. The word Vahan itself in Sanskrit comes from the one who pulls. So that's the thing. And interestingly, historically, Vahans were more of an ornament in iconography, but later on they started getting their own mythology into it. Very few mythologies have actually affected, it's not the other way around where mythologies have created the thing. It's actually the other way around. But having said that, there are exceptions and all, okay? So guys, yeah, this is the first activity. And the idea, the objectives are very simple, guys, okay? I'll just read out the rules. So for this, the rules are there are going to be 4 gods in a row, one marked 1 to 4, and there are going to be 4 animals marked A to D, okay? All you have to do is type in correctly the different, deity and Vahan match A1, B2, 1A, 2B, 1C, whatever it is, okay? And yeah, I mean, you have to just quickly type in and put it in. If we get like a, if you're getting answers and sort of a thing, we will do that. Otherwise, we'll give you a grace period to, answer sort of a thing. Okay, guys?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we typing answers in all chat, or are we sending them to any, like, just to you, or what do we do?
No. That's a good point you raised, Nikunj. You have to send it to everyone. Okay, the answers has to be sent to everyone. If you send it to only us, it's not counted because I mean, then it's a little unfair. You have to share it with everyone. So be careful, guys. You have to put it to everyone and the host, or participants and the host and all. Okay, this is another trick that you guys have to be careful. Because the answers that come, even if it's correct, it's not going to be counted, at least in the point system. Okay. Great, guys. So we're going to start the first thing. Each of the rounds are going to have a little bit of a timer. And in terms of a time check, I mean, we're going with 15 minutes for an activity. So Naga, just keep a time sort of a thing, for this activity, 15 minutes, and then we'll move ahead. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Everyone ready?
Yes.
Great. Mike's mute. The mic has to be mute, and we'll go ahead. So, round one, match the column. Okay, and the time starts now. Okay, so time's up, guys. I think some people are still typing, but great. We will. This is an easy round, guys. So we will let everyone answer. But yeah, okay. Now let's have a look at the right answers. I'm just going to share it on the screen. Okay, so you will see. This is the right answer, guys. Okay. Wait, now it's not counted, guys. Okay. Now the answers are out, so it's not counted. Anyone who's not answered, wait for the next round. Okay. So in terms of the gods, guys, I mean, Indra is known to have Airavat, which is an elephant. And at the same time, Saraswati is known to have an owl. Saraswati is known to have a swan. That's what I meant. A swan. And Yamdev, the god of death, is known to have a buffalo. The buffalo's name is Pondrak. Okay, that was something interesting thing I found out. So, it's always fun to know. And Kartikeyan is supposed to actually have, I think I made a mistake in the terms of the name, but it's supposed to be a peacock. Okay. So, yeah, sorry for the mistake. It's a peacock. I think I've just put the wrong term there. Great, guys. So, Anaga, do we have few good answers?
Yeah, we do. I actually see Rishad, if I'm getting your name right, you have all of the right answers. So congratulations.
Great going, Rishad. Yeah. Great. So I think for everyone who gets 1 point, like even one right, let's give them 1 point. And I mean, for every answer, we get them this thing. So full marks is 4 points. Okay. So
Sure.
just this thing, Anaga is keeping us 4, guys. You just keep answering. Great. So I will move on to the next round. Everyone ready, guys? Okay. Fingers on the keyboard or on the mobile pad. Let's go. Yeah. So time starts now. Oh wait, it happened too fast. Yeah. This is slightly tougher, but guys, come on, we can answer this thing. I mean, you can use the process of elimination also as a way to answer it. I hope you recognize some of the creatures and all. Okay, time is, I'll give you guys like 10 more seconds. Okay, time's up, guys. We've got 7 new this thing. Let's see. So I'm going to tell you the answers, guys. So the answer is Agni Dev is known to be riding a ram, which is pretty interesting. I wasn't even aware that rams are prevalent in India, but great. Lakshmi rides an owl. I wonder how that works. And the owl's name is Sthiti Prajn, which is an interesting thing I did not know. At the same time, Kamdev is someone who rides a parrot. Kamdev is the god of love. He's sort of an equivalent to a Cupid or Eros in Greek mythology. And Chandradev rides an antelope. Again, antelopes were something that was very common in India, was not known to me, but that's an interesting thing. So yeah, each of the gods have their own peculiar animals that they want to ride. Great. So did we get a few few answers?
Yeah, still in the process of calculating.
No worries. Okay. Great, guys. But I think this is the 2 rounds we were just going to have, and this is sort of slightly, we began with an easy thing on some of them. One thing that is interesting is that Vahans are very unique concepts to actually Indian mythology. I mean, the other mythologies have an animal associated with it, but the idea of an animal, an animal being ridden is something that is not very common. The idea of Vahan itself, it's a very peculiar Indian thing. So yeah, that was it. And yeah, we will be moving on. Okay. Anaga, how's the scoring and all?
Yeah, really going really well. Rohina actually got all right in the first and the second round. I forgot to mention that. So good.
Oh, that's interesting. Great going, Rohina. But guys, I think this was fairly easy because you guys had like a thing. We'll be we'll take it a notch up right now with the new activity, which is called pinpoint the pictures. Okay. So what we're going to do here, guys, is you're going to listen to the story. Now I'm going to tell you the story in a very short way. It's not going to be a long story. Okay. And I'll tell you the name of the creature itself. Okay. And what you have to do is I'm going to give you a bunch of images and you have to say which one it is. Okay. Again, the timer is going to be shorter this time. It's not going to be like thing. So you guys have to guess it very fast. And yeah, we will see how it goes. Okay. So it's story time. So the story, the first round is, I hope everyone's ready. I'm telling you the story. Listen carefully, guys. So the story is Narsim Avatar, which is Vishnu's avatar, who killed Hiranyakashipu by taking on a form of a lion and a half-man form, killed Hiranyakashipu, slayed him, and made Prahlad the king. But the story goes further. Hiranyakashipu, after dying, and Narsim Avatar did not go back into the Vishnu form. In fact, he ended up terrorizing the full world, going around the places, killing a lot of other people. At a certain point in time, all the Dev and all the Asuras were really scared of him. They did not know how to calm him down. So they went to Shiva and they asked Shiva, like, what do we do exactly? So Shiva finally decided to send his one form called Veerabhadra. And he sent Veerabhadra to go and try to fight and get Narsim to calm down. Complete opposite happened, where Narsim just got more enraged, killed Veerabhadra, at which point Shiv got so upset that he transformed into a creature, okay, a creature named Sharab. And what he did was he ended up confronting the god, okay, and confronting Narsim, and they had a fight, and he completely skinned Narsim to the point of killing him and releasing Vishnu. So the question is, which one is Sharab? Okay. You have 4 options, and the time starts now. You just have to type in the number, guys. Okay. Okay, guys, time's up. There are only 4 options, so we can't have this thing. Okay. Okay, guys. So I'm going to give you the answers. Sharab is the last one. Okay, and it comes from obviously Indian mythology. The other creatures, just to give you these things, are from different mythologies or from different places. The first one is actually an Egyptian mythology. It's called Amit, half creature and all. Again, I won't go into the stories of each of them, but just to tell you, there are very fascinating creatures and all. Okay. Yeah. So how many people got it right this thing?
0 actually.
That's okay.
Which is the second one? What's the second one?
Second one is saying Gajsimha, which is actually an Indonesian god. It's a mix of a lion and elephant. Indonesians have done some, amazing art.
Lion and elephant. It has wings.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gajsimha, that's what it's called.
That's what I got messed up. I knew it was part lion, part bird. I saw the wings. I didn't see the elephants.
That's okay. I mean, in some ways, the reason, one of the clues in the other hand is also that fact that, I said he de-skinned and all. So if you see the picture also, there is a slight bit of a clue of is holding hands. It's not very clear sort of a thing, but that's the one that was there. Okay. So that's his Lord Sharab. Okay. And by the way, Sharab is very famous in South India and all. Sharbeshwar or, this thing, Shiva Sharab is how he's known. And he's there in, he has temples dedicated to him and all, where he's holding Narsim and he's, ultimately killing him. Okay. Okay, guys. So the next round, okay. I hope you guys are having fun, even if you're getting the answers or not. So the next round, we are going to talk about the next story. So the story doesn't finish here, guys, okay? While in some versions, Narsim was dead, in another version, Narsim got so angry at Sharab trying to kill him that Narsim turned into another creature to fight Sharab. And he ended up picking up Sharab and tossing him away and ultimately completely dismantling, and breaking all the, the bones in his body to the point that Shiv kind of realized that Vishnu is the true god, and he became a complete devotee of Vishnu itself, going back to the Shiv form. The creature that Vishnu became was called Gandberund. Okay, Gandberund. Okay. So now the question is, which one is Gandberund? Okay. Again, guys, 4 options. And we will begin now. Okay, guys, the time's up. Okay. We've got a few answers. Let's see what's the answers like. Interesting. Yeah. So a lot of people have come up with an answers. This time, I think a lot of people are closer. Just to give you an idea, guys. The first one is the right answer. That's Gandberund. Okay, it comes from Indian mythology. By the way, I kind of cheated, guys. The third one is not from a mythology; it's from Dungeons and Dragons. So I mean, I kind of ran out of all the creatures, and I wanted to just play with some creatures that looked like, sounded like Gandberund. But what's interesting is that the Gandberund. So just to tell you about the Gandberund and Sharab is known to, supposed to have the body of a lion, then has has wings of wings of a bird. Same thing, Gandberund is known to be a creature that has 2 bird heads, and its talons are supposed to be so strong that it can lift an elephant. In fact, at some point in time in the story, he takes this thing Sharab, and he keeps tossing him around. Because of this, and there are 2 versions of the story. There is a version where Gandberund ultimately defeats Sharab, and there's also and Vishnu becomes completely submissive and realizes his folly of trying to fight Vishnu. There's another story where both of their fight becomes ends with almost the annihilation of the world itself, and everyone prays to them. And finally, they kind of realize that they have taken it too far, and both the gods calm down and return back, and they become besties again. So the story actually is an interesting reflection of the Vaishnavic and the Shaivik struggles that have happened. If you see it, the name Sharab and all actually has a scriptural evidence. There are stories in Shiv Puran and all that mention Sharab. Gand Berund actually doesn't come from the scriptures. So a lot of there's a lot of fight between different clans and different groups and all, where Gand Berund just seems like sort of a reaction to Sharab, and given the fact that it's only known well known in the south, in Karnataka's flag and emblem, Gand Berund is there. So some of the South Indian people, they do take it much more seriously, this creature. But yeah, I mean, again, the story of two gods, and it's interesting, right? The debate and the fight is not as physical as much as it's through a story. So yeah, so that's about it, guys. Yeah, moving on to the next round. Yeah. So I was just seeing the animations working on. Yeah. So this story is going to be from the Greek mythology. The story actually goes that Bellerophon, one of the heroes, decided to ultimately fly out, hearing about a monster who's been terrorizing people. A sort of a fire-breathing monster. Okay. And he decides to get another creature. He rides this creature and goes flying out to defeat him. He's given this task by another king who believes this is impossible, and he wants Bellerophon to actually fail. But Bellerophon takes up this challenge, flies out, and tries to fight this creature. Okay, the creature's name is Chimera. Okay. Or chimera, that's the depending on the definition you guys want to follow. And at one point of time, they keep fighting, and he realizes that there's no way he can defeat him. Finally, he comes up with this idea that the only way to defeat a fire-breathing dragon is to stop his fire-breathing capabilities. So he takes a piece of lead and jams it on his spear. And when he's charging at Chimera, the Chimera opens his mouth. And ultimately, he jams it on his throat. Now, because of the fire-breathing capacity, the Chimera completely, melts the lead, and it ultimately goes down its throat, completely, choking him, and finally dies of asphyxiation. Okay, and that's how Bellerophon ultimately wins against a creature, slays, and becomes a hero in his own right. But the question: which of these characters is Chimera? Your time starts now. Oh, okay. Again, the animation went too fast, but it's okay, guys. We'll see it backwards. Okay, time is up. Okay, we got 7 new replies. Let's look at the answers, how people have been faring. Great, some people have given an answer. So many of you guys are right. The third creature is Chimera, okay, or Chimera. The other creatures are actually also known. I mean, Wendigo, anyone who watches a lot of these American horror movies or horror shows and all, Wendigo is a very common creature, especially for supernatural fans out here. That's the thing. The Minotaur is obviously from the Greek mythology, where he's killed by Perseus and all. So Chimera is known to be a creature. It's actually the defining feature is that it's a lion, which has also a goat and a sort of a dragon, and it has a tail of a snake. And what's interesting is that while it has a lion which has a mane, it's actually a female because it's supposed to have it's also supposed to have given birth to certain creatures and all. Okay, yeah, and by the way, Chimera is like sort of a sibling of another creature. We will talk about that. I won't want to spoil it here, but he's another creature that he's known for. Okay. Great, guys. So that's the story of Chimera, and it's good to see people are doing that. Um, so we're going to move on to the new activity also altogether. So Raga, how are we doing the score? I mean, how many people have got
Yeah,
the thing?
almost everybody who guessed this time got it right.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, very interesting.
So who's leading the pack right now?
Oh, I think right now it is, I think Nikunj and Rohina have tied.
Okay.
And I think Rishad comes in second.
Okay, come on, Rishad, and come on, Nikunj, everyone listening. But guys, come on, everyone else, just guess better, guys. Okay. But
And I will say, it would be great if everybody like guesses in all of the rounds and participates. It's okay if you get it wrong still, because I'm seeing some of you are just like answering one or two things. Just let your answers flow. It's okay. I'll keep the points. I don't mind going through a few extra names. Don't worry about it.
yeah, definitely, guys. I mean, there's nothing to lose. There's no negative points, as I think Kajal mentioned. So feel free to guess wrong, and who knows if all of you guess wrong, maybe that becomes a new myth altogether. So we can say that that's the new version that we believe in. So okay, guys, do that. Just a thing, I had also talked about mythical wolves. So just before we go into the next session, I'm going to just bring in the mythical wolf. Guys, again, you can give your answers. Who do you think the three wolves are? The first one is a son of a trickster. That should give you an idea. I mean, tricksters, there's only one that comes in mind. The second one is known to have given birth to two twin babies. And just to give you one more hint, the one of the twin goes to found a city by itself. Okay. The third one is slightly tougher, but if someone can guess it, great. But something to learn. Any guesses, guys? Great, we're getting a couple of answers. Yeah, I think, I mean, even if you can mention a mythology, that's good enough, guys. It's, I mean, sometimes a mythology is good enough to represent the creature itself. Like, we know something from that mythology. So, yeah, I'm loving how, most of you guys are getting the first one. That's a good thing. Shows, shows the popularity of a certain mythology. Okay. So yeah, I'll reveal the answers, guys. Okay. The first one is Fenrir, right? As you guys mentioned, he's the son of Loki. He's one of the creatures, along with Jormungandr, which is a snake that, a serpent that fights Thor. Fenrir is destined to fight Odin. So remember, in Norse mythology, the storytelling is very different. The stories have not happened yet. They're going to happen, especially the Ragnarok is going to happen. It's all of prophecy. So the stories are told in a future tense point of view. So Fenrir is going to be killing the god, going to be killing Odin. And he is someone who ultimately gets killed by one of the other sons of Odin and all. The second one, Lupa, okay, is the one who finds Remus and Romulus. And Romulus goes to find the city of Rome. Okay, if you guys have been part of the mathematical sessions, I had done a story on Remus and Romulus. So that's where it is. And Lupa is a term, basically, lupus is a term for wolf in Latin, or lupin, which is another thing. Any Harry Potter fans will get that. The third one is saying Amarok. This comes from like the Inuit mythology, which again is sort of not very well known. But what's interesting about Amarok is basically a sort of a creature that it's used as a bedtime storytelling device, where this creature is going to be hunting anyone who's going late night and all. So this was a very common storytelling, sort of a cultural thing in the Inuit, mythology, where the wives would tell the husbands to come back soon before an Amarok, ends up eating it. There are some interesting mythologies also where an Amarok ultimately finds a baby and then decides to train the baby instead of eating it. And, the child keeps coming back home and then comes back to learn something new. People are very scared of him, but then ultimately, this child grows up to be one of the heroes in the mythologies, okay? So yeah, that was a story of the Amarok, and those are the three figures. we'll go to the new activity, guys. Let me just look at the time. I think, yeah, we're doing well in time. But anyway, we'll fasten up if there's something missing. So the new activity we're going to do is called figure out the figures, okay? What it means is, I'm going to show you a shape, okay? And I'm going to progressively open the shape, make it more clearer to you, okay? You have to guess the name of the creature. Once you guess the name of the creature, it's not done yet. You will get the point. You'll get 1 point for the other thing. The way we're going to do this game is that, you know, if you guys, given the fact that shapes are going to progressively change, if you guys get it, you know, in the first shape itself, you get 3 points. If you guess it in the second shape, you get 2 points. And if you guess it in the last one, you get 1 point, okay? And if there's a bonus thing, if you get the answers, you get 2 points, okay? So Anaga, just keep that score in mind, okay? If someone gets it. And I'm going to be moving fairly quickly. So if you guys do get it and we've already moved to the next slide, that's just going to be counted as the last point that we've decided, okay? Ready, guys? Okay, let's mythologize. So the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, guys, no one guessed it, or someone may have guessed it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's going to be very easy, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I think a lot of people have got it. Okay, the answer is Pegasus. Okay. Yeah, I think, yeah, a few people did get it. Okay, so that's great, guys. It's you know, I think this one was fairly easy. I mean, you know, a winged horse is something that most of us generally know, thanks to the Hercules Disney movie. So we've got that this thing. But I have a question, guys. Okay, who was Pegasus's mother? The time starts now. Type in your answers, guys. Anyone? Okay, you have nothing to lose. Come on, the thing. Guys, if more people say the same, you know, the answers and all, even if many people have the same answers, that's also fine, you know. Yeah, that's a nice answer, Rishad. Definitely, I think, yeah, I think we've got the most correct answer, Menka Gandhi. That's definitely, she's the mother of all the creatures, guys. So, you know, your answer is technically not correct. So yeah, I think a lot of people got it, guys. Just to give you the answer. Oh, wait, I was not selecting the thing. Medusa is the, you know, the mother. It's very funny, right? We don't imagine Medusa as a mother figure, but basically how she actually birthed Pegasus was when Perseus had decapitated her. From her corpse came out Pegasus. He flew out of the thing, completely blood drenched and all, and it, you know, it went away until it was found by Bellerophon, which is the creature he rode on to kill Chimera. So interesting connection there, guys. Okay. But I just wonder, like, you know, I mean, the idea that Medusa was carrying a Pegasus, I mean, you know, how did that work? But, you know, again, not to use logic in mythology, but yeah. Okay, guys, next round. Anaga, what's the?
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure I'm getting this right. So if I'm not wrong, Anurit and Rohina guessed it in the second round. So they both get 2 points each. And Nikunj and Rishad gets in the last round, so they get 1 point each. And Nikunj and Rohina also got 1 point for guessing this thing right.
Yeah. That's perfect. I think you've got sort of a thing. Okay. For the next one, I'm going to be slightly slow, sort of a thing. So there will be enough time for Anaga also to mention score, and you guys get like an extra few seconds to answer it. Okay. Cool, guys. Ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Second thing, guys. Now it should be easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Third point sort of a thing. Now it's fairly easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the right answer is the Lernian Hydra. I'm very curious to see how people were answering it. Yeah, that's wow. People who answered it. It's interesting. I'd actually thought of the fact that if anyone guesses what kind of Hydra, we will actually give them more points. But it's fair, sort of a thing. But yeah, I think you guys know the I think you know the creature itself, Hydra. And I think Marvels have made it even more famous right now. So yeah, kudos guys. And the question now is, we know that Hercules, killed it, but how did he kill this creature? And guys, I mean, it's okay. You can just type in a word and all, as long as it's completely, clear. If you can type a sentence, it's great. I'm going to give you guys 5 more seconds because this could be a slightly longer sentence to do that. Yeah. But yeah, let's have a look how people are. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I think most of you guys have got it, right. And here's the answer. Because he was trying to cut the thing. So this is actually the second, labor that Hercules was tasked to do. Remember, Hercules' tasks were basically given to him by King Eurystheus, who was his cousin, who just wanted to get rid of him, as conspiring with Hera. Hercules trying to get his reputation back after having killed his family in complete rage, again, induced by Hera, was doing these impossible tasks. So when he was given the second task to kill the Hydra that was in the Lake Lernia, he tried to cut off the head, but every time he cut off a head, 2 would grow off in its face. And finally, he decided that he used his wit, and along with his cousin, he came up with this idea of cutting the head and cauterizing the stumps. Okay, so I think most of you guys have got it right. I think we are So Naga, do we have the points?
Yeah, some people said only cut off the head, then some people said only cut off the stump. So what are we going to do here?
I think let's be just fair for people who've said cut off the head. Let's just give them 1 point, and the people who've said stump and burn sort of a thing, let's give them 2 points. Just to be fair, guys. Okay. Okay. I know. Actually, this is the thing I was trying to see also. Mythology is also a typing quiz. How fast you can guys type. But no, that's fine, guys. I mean, there are going to be other quizzes and all. I kind of tried typing and trying to see it, so I kind of use my own speed at which you can do that. Yeah, Mac, I think this is a time not to be worried about typos. That was not a thing. But great, guys. So we have another round, guys. Okay. This one should be fairly, well, I mean, easy or simple depends on you guys. Okay. So, are you guys ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Moving on, making it clearer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we've got 3 answers. Third one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 2 answers. Great. Just going to leave it here. If anyone wants to still guess it before I give the answers away, feel free to do it. You can get 1 point. Okay. Anyone? I would request everyone who's here to participate, just give an answer. Doesn't matter. I mean, if all goes well, you may end up creating a new creature altogether. So. Okay. So we have a few answers. Let's see. So the name is Cerberus, okay? Even if you get put just for 3-headed dog would have been fine, but that's okay. So Cerberus is very well known for people who who've been listening. Harry Potter fans definitely know, this creature, okay? Now comes the question, guys, okay? What was Cerberus's duty? I mean, we know he was a dog, right? But what was his duty? Okay, I am going to start the time. Oh, sorry. The timer goes. Feel free to answer, guys. No. Okay, we're seeing for a few answers. That's okay. You know. By the way, guys, this also has 2 parts, but it's okay. You know, if everyone gets to 1 part, we can give everyone the point itself. But yeah, anyone else, guys? I'm going to give a grace period of 5 more seconds. Okay, guys, we have. Wait, sorry. So Cerberus was definitely guarding the underworld, but he was also the one who would prevent the dead from leaving. I think the Greeks were really worried about zombies, so they had this special creature that was just doing this thing. He was actually a pet of Hades himself. And there's a whole story. There's in the 12th labor, Hercules is tasked to get Cerberus only because Eurystheus doesn't really want to see Cerberus. He just thinks that if Hercules goes into the underworld, he'll never come back. And what happens is this is a sort of an anticlimactic story where Hercules, when he goes inside the underworld, he goes to Hades, says that, can I take this dog? The Hercules, Hades like, yeah, bro, go ahead, but you may have to just fight him. And they do fight him. Hercules puts him in an arm wrestle, and Cerberus just kind of gives in. He brings it back and then releases him. So it's not a story that has a lot of action and fight, but it's almost like, there's just like a very nice understanding and all. The dog actually accompanies, Hercules, and everyone's scared of him. And it actually sounds like Cerberus is almost like, a very tamed creature, if you know how to tame him. So yeah, that was the other round. Cool. So how are we with the scores, Anaga?
Doing well. A lot of people got this one right, and I think Nikunj got the exact part of it right, which was to prevent this from leaving. So good job there.
Okay, that's great, Nikunj. Great. So yeah, I think everyone who got after this thing, let's give them 1 point and 2 points. So thing. Okay, guys. So that's the main thing. We're going to move ahead. Okay. And again, we're going to take it up a notch in some ways and all, and give everyone a fair chance to answer things correctly and not. It definitely helps if you know some of the things, but these guys, even if you get something wrong or you're very close to the answers, that's fine. Okay. So the next activity is called Hidden Behind the Hints. Okay. I'm going to give you certain hints. What is going to happen is I'm going to give you 3 mythological facts of a story itself. And you have to guess the creature's name. And then I'm going to ask you a question about its myth. Okay. To be honest, the names could be slightly this thing. If you remember it, great. But the answers are this thing. If you can get the answers, nothing like it. Similar to this model where we had, if you can get the answers, this thing, you get a slightly more points. So the first fact, if you get it, great. You get 3 points. Then second fact, you get 2 points. The third fact, you get 1 point. And yeah, if you guess the name, you get you get that 1 point. And if you get the the questions, you get 2 points. Okay. So I hope you guys are ready again. Now, in the story, I want you to guess who this creature is first, and then I'm going to ask you another question. So the story hint is this is about a known warrior who's sort of doing a meditation and a penance in top of a hill when he notices something in front of him. And what ends up happening is he sees a creature made up of 9 different animals, and it's holding a lotus. Okay. Now, third thing. The warrior is terrified. He raises his weapon, but on realizing that this is no ordinary being but divinity itself, ends up bowing down. Who is this creature, guys? Oh my god, yeah, we've got like a few answers out of the thing. Okay, I think I like this thing that, like when we don't remember the name, we just like attributing it to a thing. Great. I mean, I'm going to give you guys some more time. Just think about it. You guys can like, make assumptions and all. But who's the creature? Anyone, any idea? Okay, I'm going to give you one more clue. The fact that he has 9 different forms, if you can think about it, that itself is a sort of a clue. Okay. I'm going to give you the answers, guys. Okay, before I give the answers, I wanted to actually show you the creature. So that's the creature, okay? Fascinating, isn't it? What things we come up with. And the creature's name is Navgunjar. Okay. There were 9 animals. This thing was sort of a giveaway, and I do understand this was slightly tougher, guys. Okay, but still, so we'll make it a little bit more fun. Okay, you guys got the, like I don't think you got a creature, but you guys can still get a point if you get the next thing. I mentioned divinity itself. Okay, and I know some of you guys have answered, but this has a chance for everyone to answer it. Who was the divinity? Okay, so we're going to do this, if you guys are, like completely bang on, we're going to give you the, the 2 points. If you are somewhat right, we will give you 1 point, because to be fair to both the parties and all. Okay. I'm going to just let you guys finish with the timer. It was Krishna. Okay, so the story is about Arjun, guys. Arjun is doing a sort of a meditation, and finally a creature comes to him, and when he's scared, he ultimately reveals him to be Krishna. This is the second time Krishna has revealed his another form to Arjun, trying to show how how nature is something that he controls and all. By the way, this story only comes from sort of an Orissa. This comes from a story, it just has one story variant. It's not known in the popular Mahabharata and this thing in the thing Ramayana and all. This is actually a story that comes from one part on one thing, and comes from 15th century. So it's not very well known, but then because this is it's Krishna and his avatar sort of a thing, and it's his form, it has a lot of depiction and art and all. Okay. So yeah, that was the round. Okay, guys, I'm noticing that you guys are struggling slightly, so we're going to make it a slightly more easier for the next one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you more time, and I'm going to give you more hints for the second one. Okay, and if you guys it, by the way, guys, I mean, even if you don't get the name right, even if you get it something close, put it, because you get some points. Okay, and that's always a good thing. So yeah. We're going to the round 2. By the way, I hope you guys are still having fun. I know the questions are, so sometimes there's a sort of a win and lose. Okay. Okay. Ready, guys? I'm going to start. Who is this creature? So, in trying to find his own people, or his people rather, who were kidnapped by a powerful being, a known warrior enters into the underworld. But then he encounters a creature who's half crocodile and half monkey, and is supposed to be guarding the gates of this underworld. But this creature ends up bowing down to him, almost respectfully. But while this warrior fights with this creature and they realize they're almost equally matched, just merely defeating him in time, the creature reveals that this warrior is actually his father. Okay, so Anyone? Any guesses, guys? Try to see if you can guess it. Then I'll show you the image before I reveal the name. Okay, I see that. I think we're all wondering. Okay. Wait, sorry, someone's coming in. So let's see if someone got it right. Okay, I think Anirudh, you had got this one thing, but that was the creature. By the way, the question, if you see the creature, you can guess, who was his father? Come on, guys. Let's see. Yes, let's bring Dragon Ball Z into this. That's a good idea. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, I shall reveal the answers in 5 seconds. Anyone wants to type in or anything? So the answer is Hanuman, guys. So the story is actually Hanuman is someone when he had burnt Lanka and his tail was on fire. He kind of took a dip in the sea of near in the sea itself, and that time his essence fell down, and Makar, which is actually a mythical creature in Indian mythology, but it's also associated with the crocodile. So a crocodile ends up swallowing its essence and gives birth to this sort of a creature called Makardhwaj. Finally, this creature is captured by the Patal Lok, where the Ahiravan. Ahiravan is the name of the powerful being who is the ruler out there. He sees this. He kills the mother, but he sees this small creature, and he decides to train him up. And Makardhwaj ends up rising up the ranks and becoming such a skilled warrior that he's given the duty to be guarding the door itself. And he's very, very very, very loyal to Ahiravan. So when because before dying, his his mother had told him who his father was. He was always awaiting it. And when Ahiravan had kidnapped Ram and Lakshman and taking them to Patal Lok, Hanuman followed this thing, and then that's when he confronted with Makardhwaj, who greeted his father. After defeating him, Makardhwaj said that the only way I can let you go is if you tie me or if you defeat me, because I am my loyalty still lies with Ahiravan, since he's the one who's raised me and all. When Hanuman goes, kills Ahiravan, gets Ram and Ram and Lakshman back. Ram asks him the story, who's this person that you've tied up to a pole? Hanuman tells him the full story. Ram is so pleased with this Makardhwaj that he ends up making him the king of Patal Lok. And that's how Makardhwaj this thing. And in our traditions, certain clans, especially the Jeshtua clan, in Gujarat and all, they see themselves having a lineage tracing back to the, to Makardhwaj itself. So that's how we end up getting this thing. Okay, guys, moving on to the next thing. Yeah, we are good on time, guys. A few other things. So here I'm going to give you, here we're going to make it slightly more interesting. I would want you to put your mics on, okay? The thing is, I'm going to tell you a mythical statement, okay, which has something wrong. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be something, maybe it could be the way what the statement says itself, What I want you to do is you guys need to buzz up. Okay, now because we don't have an actual buzzer, what you need to do is type in the word galat, okay, with an exclamation mark in the answers. Whoever types in first is we're going to allow him to answer the thing. The only thing is, whenever you're pointing out what is wrong, you have to start with actually, according to the scriptures. Okay, if you don't say that, that's not counted, guys. Okay, even if you figure out what is wrong, if you figure out what is wrong with the statement, that's good enough. But if you figure out what is wrong and and you correct it, you get 2 points. Otherwise, you just get 1 point. So guys, nothing to lose. I want everyone's mics to be on, guys. Okay. Actually, you know what? Just wait for your mics to this thing, but type in first. And once you type in, then, this thing, type in the word galat, okay? Exclamation. This obviously comes from the fact that, we love correcting people with mythology, especially we think, no, you got the wrong version. That's not what happened, guys. I've been, like a victim of that many times. People tell, keep correcting that, that's not true. What happened was this. And then according to, Shastro ke Anusar, that's the most common thing that I, hear from people. So, I give you guys a chance to actually keep correcting me. Okay. So I want you guys to type, okay? By the way, guys, if you say it without turn, if you say the thing, it's not counted. The word, galat with an exclamation mark has to be, put in the thing, and we will look at whoever says first is allowed. If you get it wrong, we move on to the next one who says it, okay? So, guys, starting with, to defeat the shape-shifting Mahishasur, the devas and the gods combined their feminine energy to create a warrior named Durga, while each giving a special gift. Indra gave his Vajra, Varun gave him his conch, Agni gave her missiles and spears, Vayu gave her a bow, Vishwakarma gave him his axe, and Shiva gave her a lyre. What is the mistake? Guys, type in chat. Anyone who feels that has figured out what is the wrong, just type in the word galat, and you get to correct me. Take a shot, guys. You have nothing to lose. You can just see whatever is right or wrong on this thing. Just remember the phrase word. I hope you guys understood. You need to type in galat to give an answer. Anyone? Okay, Anurit, you get a shot.
According to the scriptures, Shiva did not give her a line.
So yeah, you've got the the first part this thing. Who gave her the line? Anyone, guys? So you figured out one this thing. Great. Nikunj, yeah, you get to see.
I don't know. I think Shiva gave her a bow, if memory serves me right.
Technically, that is right. We should, listen. But that is, Shiva actually did not give her this thing something specific and all. He had given his energy, because Durga is a form of thing. So you found what is wrong, but that's not exactly the that's not what's wrong with the statement itself. Anyone else, guys? Kajal?
Shiva gave the face.
Sorry, can you repeat yourself?
Sorry, Shiva created her face, Durga's face.
Again, I think,
of hers. Like
that's technically. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the features and the body and the face was created by Shiva, isn't it?
Again, it's not technically this thing, right? There are versions that say it. So I'm going to give you this thing. I think anyone who's pointed to Shiva, you've got one thing right. But that's not the thing. I mean, in general stories and all. Again, I'm going by the fact that in scriptures. Okay. So you guys have to be sort of technically correct here.
Right.
But that's okay. I mean, in certain variations that could have been possible. Anyone else, guys? Take a shot. Okay, Rishad, you get to speak.
I think someone else gave her the lion, but I don't remember who.
Okay, 2 problems, Rishad. You didn't say the phrase, so that's not counted. Nikunj, again, I think you've said Garth. You get a chance. This thing.
Yeah, I think okay. According to scriptures, I remember that. I think Shiva gave her the trident. Maybe not the lion. I think Shiva gave her the trident, and I think the lion was given by what is the name of that, the god of the kind of like mountains or something like that, right?
Okay. Cool. I think that's fine. I think you've you've got the mistake at least and all. I will since we've got. So you guys are all pointed it right. Shiva gave her a lion. I mean, Shiva didn't give her a lion, and I think the thing. And because I think you were the closest sort of a thing. It was Himavat who gave her the Durga the lion. By the way, the Durga's lion's name is Dawan. Okay, he's got the tracing of the lion is from Tibetan nursing, and it was absorbed in the Hindu mythology. So a trivia fact for anyone who cares. But yeah, I think you guys got it right. Now, just to point out what Kejal and I think Nikunj, even before you had mentioned the thing, Shiva, so in the scriptures, it's not very clearly mentioned that Shiva gave her anything specific. In fact, Shiva, because it's her wife, so it's not done that. But then again, there are variations where Shiva gave her certain things, whether he gave her a form and all. In fact, at some level, the 3 gods, they kind of were the one who, it must have the energy, but in terms of physical attributes and all were actually given by the devas and all. Okay. So yeah, I think, Anaga, we can give Nikunj at least, 1 point for that, for the fact that he actually guessed this, right. But yeah, that was one thing, guys.
1 point to Kejal and Anurit for getting the mistake right in the sentence, and 2 points to
yeah. Sorry, 1 point and 2 points out of the thing. That's perfect, guys. Okay. Okay, guys, we're so guys, now you know the format. Okay, we have one more round of this, and I want you guys to take a wild shot. Okay, this is the point where I think you guys can speak up, and after you just type in the word. So go ahead, go crazy, and feel free to correct me anytime. Okay. By the way, you guys can correct me while I'm reading the sentence also. This is the place where you can be like in my face. Okay. So go ahead. Okay. Okay, guys. So this is from the Greek mythology. The king of the Greek god Zeus has had some weird and peculiar transformations. Okay, most of the times to get a woman he wanted to be with. Sometimes it is about turning into a beautiful swan. Sometimes it's about turning into a white bull, an eagle, a small ant, a fancy peacock, a serpentine dragon, a helpless cuckoo, a wild satyr, or even a shower of golden coins. What is wrong with the sentence? What is the inaccuracy in the sentence, guys? Sorry, so who's the first one, Anaga? Who? Okay, Nikunj, you get a chance again.
Is it according to scriptures? I think it's not an eagle. It should be is it like a dragon or some kind of other bird or something like that? No, wait, hold on. No, you already have dragon in there. Something's up with the eagle.
So technically, you're not that's not the problem. He did turn into an eagle once. Okay. There is a story of mythology itself. No. So we can move on to the next person. Rishad, you have said, you've.
I get the feeling that the serpentine dragon is off. I don't remember him ever turning into a dragon.
That's not the thing. And Rishad, you forgot to say the magical phrase. But okay, so we move on. Anurit?
According to the scriptures, He didn't become a small ant, he became a horse.
Again, that's not technically correct. He did become a small ant. The thing at one point he wanted to get close to someone and he felt the need to become small to do that. There is a one that he has become a horse also, but that's not technically what's wrong with the statement. Anyone else, guys? Take a shot. We have a lot of people. Anyone wants to take a shot? By the way, don't assume this thing. I mean, there could be something else wrong with the statement.
Listen, considering your views, I think just trying to get with a woman, anything is possible. So I'm just, that in itself becomes a...
So Meg, you forgot to say, you forgot to follow this thing. You didn't say galat, and you forgot to say the flattering phrase. But that's not what's wrong with the statement. It is generally for this thing. In fact, very few stories have a thing where he's just transforming for this thing. But yeah, I mean, this thing. So that was. Anyone else, guys? By the way, feel free to try again. I mean, anyone who says this thing, Nikunj, no?
Wait, I think it's the peacock. Now that I think about it, I think something's off with the peacock.
Okay, that is.
If I remember correctly, he took on many other forms. Like he also took on like human forms, right? Like I think there's at some point, like there's multiple human. I don't remember all the human forms, but I think there's something off with the peacock.
Yeah, I think Nikunj, you've got it right. It was the peacock. Just an interesting fact why it was the peacock. So peacock is, he never turned into a peacock because that was an animal that was sacred to Hera. There's a whole story of how peacocks were created. Peacocks got their this thing, Hera did it. But he was, despite all his dalliances with, like trying to find and seduce women and all, which was always, a frustration for Hera, he never wanted to, be on the wrong side of her. So he would never turn into a creature that would be special, special to her. Okay? Even if he wanted to. So that was one creature he did not turn to. Okay. So again, that was the thing.
Basically, it's okay to go and hit on other women, but it's not okay to turn into the animal that your wife doesn't like.
Yeah, I think you nailed the Greek gods, rules and all sort of a thing. Gods had their own rules, guys. Okay, just to give you an example, if you the story of Medusa itself, while obviously Medusa's backstory comes a lot later, it doesn't come in the thing. She's always been a monster. In the later retellings, she was supposed to be a beautiful woman, and Poseidon or Neptune in the Roman sort of a thing was so infatuated with her that he actually assaulted her. In Athena's temple. She was a priestess in Athena's thing. Now Athena ended up getting so enraged that she, at the fact that she, her temple was defiled, she ended up, turning this thing Medusa into a gorgon, where she had the head of a snake, and the fact that she, people looked at her with sort of a lustful gaze made her, she kind of caused her to turn men's gaze into stones. Okay, now. There's been a lot of critiques and retellings and all to justify this. Two reasons: because Athena as a goddess has never been such a vindictive god. Okay, she's never been vindictive. So there are two explanations. One is that she did it because she knew she can't fight Poseidon, because the god, she can't punish the goddess sort of a thing, and she realized that given what had happened to Medusa, she felt that she had to kind of make sure that she's guarded, and something like this should never happen again. And the way to punish men to forever doing this sort of a thing, kind of made sure that Medusa is having these sort of characteristics that kind of deter it. Unfortunately, that's not how humans saw it, which is why Perseus as a hero went and kind of cut off her head. And I think this is one of the stories where depends on how your explanation. Another version is also the fact that she ended up doing this. She tried to do this before Poseidon was trying to assault her, but unfortunately Poseidon tricked her and had his way with Medusa before Athena could do anything about it. So Nikunj, you're completely right. I think gods have crazy rules, and that's why they're gods, and we are humans. Okay. Okay, guys, so we are good on time, and I think we've got some points and all. Just a probo quiz sort of a thing. And before that, guys, Anaga, what's the score and who's winning right now?
Oh, I think there is a clear victory of Nikunj.
Oh, okay. Who's second and all?
So we have Rishad and Rohina coming in second, and Anurit just 1 point behind them coming in third. So Rishad at the second place.
Okay, guys, I'm going to give you one more chance, sort of a thing, for the second, third people to catch up and all. The last promo thing I had put in was the mythical snakes, and we're going to talk about the snakes itself. And I'll ask you a question. So, so as to understand. Oh wait, sorry. I think. Oh, I just realized I kind of revealed the answers, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. But anyway, that was the creatures that we had, had done. So we do have a clear winner. And by the way, the snakes itself, I mean, we kind of got a very interesting response in terms of the snakes. A lot of people had guessed in the first snake, which is, from an Indian mythology. This is snake where Krishna decides this thing. Kalia is a snake that ends up being, in Yamuna. And finally, he's terrorizing he's polluting the waters. He's ends up terrorizing the gopis and all. And once Radha is the one who decides to to check the thing out, and she one of her pots and all falls down into the river, and Krishna decides to go down and jump in, and finally, when Kalia sees him, ends up having a sort of a tussle. Krishna finds it very easy to defeat him, and in the end, Krishna, the way he defeats him is literally standing on his hood and dancing on top of it, to the point that Kalia just accepts defeat, saying that you're no normal mortal, so please let me know. And Krishna just tells him that you have to go from here, and gives him sort of a passage to go and live his life without killing him. The second one is the famous Jormungandr. He is actually the brother, or like a sibling of Fenrir, who ends up fighting the Thor, and they're destined to kill each other. Just to let you guys know. And Jormungandr is is such a huge creature that he's when he's spawned by Loki, he's sent around the world to spin in circles, and he's so big that he ends up eating his own tail, and that's where we have these symbols of a snake eating its own tail and all, a very famous motif in a lot of mythologies. The last one, Quetzalcoatl, comes from the Aztec mythology. Now, like how we have the Vishnus and you have Odin and all, Quetzalcoatl is actually a very, very important god in Aztec mythologies. He is someone who he's the name itself is actually a translation of a feathered serpent, and it's a very interesting thing that we have a feathered serpent as a concept and all in mythology, given that in the recent findings, dinosaurs, especially the things, have been so we've recently found that the birds are actually dinosaurs. Birds are a lineage of dinosaurs. So many of your forms you see, T-Rex and all, may have had feathers. So this actually goes back to the fact that mythology has had this idea of a feathered reptile. And what's also interesting about Quetzalcoatl is that as a creature, he has there's a dinosaur named after him, Quetzalcoatlus, a dinosaur. And in the Spanish Inquisition, when the Spanish people had come in, and because one of their symbols, one of their this thing had one of the conquistadors looked like similar to Quetzalcoatl, lot of the the Aztec and the this thing, they kind of worshipped him, and that kind of was easier for the Spanish Inquisition to rule over the thing, because sort of the native people kind of got fooled into believing that they have this is a divine person and all. And this happened with a couple of other gods also, where they felt that this god is actually they kind of mistook their invader as a god, a fact that is very common in mythology across thing. So yeah, that was it, guys. So we have a clear winner. What's the thing, the points right now, Naga?
Right, so it's 24 points for Nikunj, 15 points for Rishad and Rohina, and 14 points for Anurit. Then we have Kajal at 9 points, and Mehek at 6 points, and Janisha at 4 points.
Okay, guys. See, anyway, the points were just, as I think, the famous show, Whose Lines Anyway says, like points mean nothing, just thing. But great, you guys are going to I think we will be able to give the first 3 winners a certificate for the thing. So just give a couple of days. We will send you a certificate on your email ID.
I
From
think
Cobalt Blue.
to give a special mention to Anirudh's sense of humor that helped, forward this entire competition. Even when he didn't know the answers, his answers were better than the actual answers.
That's true. I think always the humorous answers are always better. And by the way, like guys, as I said, mythology is more fun when you add a little bit of humor and all. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the session. The main thing was also to help you open the eyes to the wonderful, fascinating zoo of zoo of creatures we have in our mythologies, and all these creatures have different fascinating stories, and they also some of the times these creatures they kind of evolve over time. Many of the creatures, by the way, have their own personalities. I mean, if you think about it, it's very common to monsterize a creature, right? We end up looking at a creature and we think of the word monster. But the thing is, the monster itself as a concept has always been there's a very interesting phenomenon that happens in mythology and in culture, where marginality ultimately turns into monstrosity, which what it means is that the communities or the people or a being that has been marginalized is the one that looks like monsters. Most of the creatures that you have in in mythologies, whether it's a cyclops or whether you have sort of some of the other creatures like the serpents, even some of these types of creatures that you have in Indian mythology, the Yakshasas and the Asuras and all, may have they probably had a tribe, or they had people who believed in it, and stories become a very good way of trying to make someone feel like a monster and someone feel like a hero. Which is why we also have a lot of retellings which kind of subvert the trope and try to reinstill the thing. The way you go about doing it speaks a lot about you, and it kind of helps you empower whoever you're doing. It's always a good idea to consider whenever you next time you look at a monster, that what is its story, where does it come from, which mythology it comes from, and the question that becomes the biggest thing, without these creatures, would there be any heroes or myths itself? So thank you guys. That was a fun thing. That way the session is done. I hope you guys had fun. And sorry for some of the questions being a little off and sort of a thing, and for throwing you guys off the track at times. But I really wanted to do that. I wanted to make it a little more fun for you guys and all also. Yeah. By the way, anyone has any questions on anything?
I don't know. I just have a comment. I thought that was really fun. I thought that the way you put this together, absolutely demonstrates the amount of time you've put in. This is not something that anyone can just put together in a matter of few hours. It's clear that you spent a really long time putting this together. So thanks for that. It's fun. It was really fun. I learned a lot of things. I've never really known much about Inuit mythology, for example, right? Inuit mythology or Aztec mythology, and it was quite interesting to learn about that as well.
Yeah, that's. I was actually going to make it a lot more tougher. I was thinking that Indian mythology everyone knows a little bit. Why don't we talk about Peruvian mythology? I mean, I'll get to learn something and all. And I think during the time I'm like, okay, you know what? It's a quiz. Let's just have fun. But at the same time, guys, I mean, it was that idea. I also did that. At one point, I was running out of which creatures should I mention, so I started playing with looking at D&D characters and other fantastical things. What's very fascinating, guys, I mean, which may have come in your mind also, is the fact that some of the creatures are big influences in some of the movies and all we see. If you think about it, the hippogriff in Harry Potter definitely resembles something of a chimera or the manticore or this thing. It has certain influences and all, right? And I think that's the fun part, like, I'll be honest, as someone who's always been interested in mythology, whenever I read these stories or whenever I read Harry Potter and all, I was really, I had a different level of appreciation from a point of view of like, oh, I see what, what JK did there and all. So that's the thing, guys. It's always fun to know these things. You will see a world with a new lens. Some of the terminologies like chimera is used as a word to describe, as a chimeric being, is something that is so fantastical, so weird that becomes a term. Hydra has become something that is literally, covert and like something that keeps spurting out, keeps growing, sort of a thing. And the same thing with other names and all itself. So some of these creatures, they kind of like have entered a lexicon, they've entered our common languages, and they influence a lot of thinking and the way we think about the world itself. So great, guys. I'm glad you guys had fun. If you have any questions, let me know. And then we can wrap up the session accordingly.
Thank you so much. It was fun. It was great learning.
Thank you all for joining in. A special shout out to Anaga for excellent scorekeeping. I think at times tougher.
Thank you for that, Anaga. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. I'm just glad I could be part of it.
What are the next things that you guys are coming up with in terms of mythology?
I'm glad you asked that, Anaga. Maybe you can tell about your session.
Yeah, sure. So exactly a week from now, next Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a webinar where I'm going to sort of decode the Natya Shastra. And before it scares you off and you think it's for only dancers or people who have nothing to do with this, actually be decoding it through stories. So there's going to be mythology, there's going to be Sanskrit dramas, there's going to be all sorts of those things. So it's definitely for the dancers, but it's also for the non-dancers, for the drama enthusiasts, all those people, to just sort of, open up this world of dance, drama, and music from ancient India. So I hope you guys will all join in there as well.
Okay, great.
Please, guys, join that. It's I'm very fascinated with that session, and given the fact that Anaga herself is a dancer, so there's a whole new meaning attached to it. By the way, these talks right now we are doing are a part of the India Unfolded festival hosted in collaboration with Cobalt Blue. So do check out the other sessions and everything. There are a lot of sessions, there are a lot of story walks and all happening. Please follow the Instagram page. Again, handled really nicely with by Anaga. So it's a treat to watch some of these stories and all. We're putting out a lot of content. I'm definitely going to be. I found a lot of stories, and a lot of more creatures. In fact, the whole idea of promotion came because I had creatures that I did not know where to put them in this thing. So I started making promotions, and I have a few more. I will keep sharing that. I will keep putting up some posts. So if you're interested, keep answering it in the chat and all. And we'll be having more sessions in this thing. I myself am going to have another session on 28th. That is about the Great Deluge, taking the story of the Bible, the Bible flood, the Indian flood, and the Babylonian flood, and looking at it from a new lens of how the divine reaction and human resourcefulness kind of shape the world altogether. So if you're interested, again, another free session. So feel free to come and take part in it. And we'll see you again. Thanks, everyone. Also, just one thing, I'm going to send you guys a form, maybe sometime sort of a thing. So please, it'll be really, it'll be really helpful for us to see how it was and how we can improve these sessions. I think we all are trying to learn a bit and trying to make this a little more fun and scale it up. So just, please fill that up, okay? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys. I think this was a lot of fun.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Pri. Thanks, everyone else.
Thanks.